To begin with, QlikView, as if you have gone online, you would have realized that QlikView is almost the leading BI business intelligence solution. But QlikView doesn't call itself a business intelligence solution; it calls itself as a business discovery solution. So it allows users to discover data, discover value out of the data or information in a very easy and a very comfortable method. So if you actually look, what I mean easy is Google, Apple, and Salesforce.com. These are nothing special, or they are not out of the box thinking. They're just normal things that were existing. So search was there by Yahoo, but Google made it so simple that people don't call it search now, they call it as Google. And it's the same thing goes for iPhone. So it is so simple to use and so user friendly that people are connected to it. And Salesforce.com also did the same thing. So similarly, QlikView is also at the at the end user perspective, it is the most simplest tool, and also at the development perspective, it is pretty simpler than compared to any other methodology or any other tool. So it has been there in the Gartner's quadrant, Magic Quadrant, for the last 4 years. Yes. The traditional, now, yeah, I'm sure you would have come across this traditional method of deploying BI solution. You have the databases, and the IT plays the major role. So all the role comes into a techno-functional role also, where you get the requirements from the business users, convert it to technical requirements, then develop it, then test it, then give it to the user. The user does the testing, he realizes this is not what he wants. Again, the cycle is repeated. Or somewhere, either the user has to compromise based on the technical capabilities of, or in case he needs any change or anything new, he'll have to go through a long cycle. So QlikView actually changed the entire thing. So QlikView's architecture is pretty simple. There is the databases. The IT plays a role of managing the data. So managing the data connection, managing the security, managing the deployment. The end users or the business analyst are the main responsible people for creating analysis, creating reports. So that's where we fit in. To give a quick introduction of how QlikView works. So you have the databases. From the databases, you extract the data, clean it, model it, create the dashboards, and you host it on the QlikView server. And the users connect to the QlikView server, access the applications online. When we say application, a QEW file is called as an application. So this application contains data in it. The main component is the QlikView server. Add-on to it is the QlikView publisher, which manages all the reloading, scheduling, publishing, sending out emails, if any. And both are managed by a QlikView management console, which is again a browser-based console. So the main components are the server and publisher. The QEW, the dashboards are designed by the QlikView developer using the desktop client. So the personal edition is available online. That is a full-fledged edition. There is no limitation for it. The only limitation is you will not be able to access any other document created by any other person. So it's a personal edition. You can consume, create documents without any limitations. It's a full-fledged edition. And access to the document online is through a browser. It can be any device. So a HTML5 enabled browser, you'll be able to connect to QlikView server and access the document. All architecture of QlikView. So how is if I have to put it across the development life cycle? So it's basically QlikView developer. He uses the QEW or the desktop client, creates the content, so be it the dashboard, all the analysis, whatever it is. He puts that to a server, reloads, publish, and distributes the content, and users consume the content. So these are the QlikView clients, be it Ajax or iPad, iPhone, any mobile device. And of course it is security enabled and integrated with your Active Directory or anything. So there are three kinds of role, if I have to put that in QlikView terminology. So if you look at the architecture, the development lifecycle, and QlikView deployment process. So the as I said, IT's role is very minimum. IT is majorly installed in database connection, administration, and they take care of the server and publisher administration because the security settings, email settings, all those, whatever is required. Now, there are two things. One is a developer and a designer. Ideally, it's one person who takes care of both. Till now, all the three, the admin, developer, and designer was considered to be one person. As the teams are growing, the demand is more. The big companies have started splitting these roles. So the IT and administration is one team who is very technical or system administrators. The developer is a person who works predominantly on databases, who can get data, who understands, who is in a SQL developer kind of a role or a database analyst kind of role. The designer is more like a business analyst who knows the data, who can create charts, who is an analyst, who can basically relate to a customer, users, and requirement, convert it to the chart or convert it to a graph. So, but what the trend is, both the developer and designer can be one person. So that is what my training will involve. So training is basically on developer and designer and a bit of IT, just to make sure that once you have created a document, how do you load that to a server so that users can access it? Yep. You have any questions? Feel free if you have any questions to stop me in between.
Sure.
Yeah. Otherwise, do you have any questions now?
I just have one question. Whatever we do with the tool, I don't know, with the QlikView developer, like building the reports. I've used Report Builder before. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Like the way we build the templates and everything, like write the SQL queries and input the data to the report. We do everything with the Report Builder too. So that is pretty much what we do with the actual developer, right? With the tool, the desktop based. And when you, I also want to learn about the QlikView publisher. Is it all about admin and installations or something like that? I initially tried to have a basic idea of what exactly it is, but I still couldn't get what exactly the publisher would do, the QlikView publisher. So I wanted to know if you would be covering that part too in the training.
I would be covering what publisher does, but I would not be able to show you exactly that training, because that server and administration is a completely different training, and in my opinion, it is not really helpful as a developer. That part is something, it doesn't coincide with the developer's lifecycle. So in a report builder, what happens is on a desktop edition, you just create the templates. The actual load happens on the server. So there's a difference. For here, there's no difference. Whatever you develop on your computer is what goes to the server. Maybe the data size might increase, but it would exactly look the same thing. So there's no difference. The publisher just enables the reload. So over here on the desktop, you do a manual load. On a publisher, it does an automatic load. So you can schedule it, basically. That's the only requirement of a publisher in a developer perspective.
Okay.
So this is the topics under the developer training. So basically, most of the scripting part and how to get the data to the document. And after this is our designer training. So these are the few topics for our designer training.
Hi, this is Pallavi here. I have a question in terms of, so what I basically wanted to understand is that we have this very critical dashboards that we need to build in QlikView, and most of the time we need to place in required restrictions as well. So will this training be covering that as well in terms of how to place access controls and all this stuff?
Okay. What kind of access controls are you referring to?
So let's assume that I have a dashboard which gives data for entire AMS or APJ, and I want my users to be restricted from viewing all the country data, and they can access only the data to a particular country, not the entire dashboard. So if suppose let's assume that there is a user from APJ and he has access only to Singapore, he should go there to the dashboard and look into the data of Singapore only and not anything else. Because see,
Yeah.
what I got to know is that
That's called as
yeah, so there should QlikView requires little what we call little bit of programming knowledge in terms of SQL, little bit of SQL knowledge, but you need not be a high-end programmer to do that. Is that easy or very difficult to do attain in QlikView?
just, I mean, in my opinion, it is easy. So I have seen a lot of people moving from being an analyst to a QlikView developer. So there's two bits to it. So as I said, there are two things. One is a developer and a designer. So you can balance this. Either you know 50-50 or you know like 30-70. So you know 30% of being a developer, designing the data model, or you be a 70% high-end designer, dashboard creator, where you create exceptional dashboards. So you can balance if you're looking at your future. For your current job role, you don't really need to be an expert SQL developer, so you can still learn quickly and the learning curve will be shorter. So that's the take. And the security that you're referring to is called as section access in QlikView. So you can always, that is covered in this training. And there are two things to it. So the section access is a very long subject. What we would be covering is the concept. So you will have to practice and grow in that method.
Okay.
Okay, and I just have one more question. That it's just related to the training. So do you provide us the software to install and help us with the installation in our desktop?
Okay, so yeah, we can do that, but QlikView Desktop Edition is available online. It's free of cost, so we request you to download that. Yeah, it's
okay.
For free. So as I said, the personal edition is free. There is no license required. There is no license required for it. So it's on QlikView.com. So it's a personal edition. It's a full-fledged working edition. So as I said, there is no difference between that and a licensed edition. Once you get it licensed, you will be able to access a QEW designed by somebody else. In a personal edition, you won't be able to do that. You'll have to use whatever you create the document. So that creates a ground rule for our training session that whatever I design over here or develop, you'll have to recreate the same thing, which makes you practice.
Okay.
And then that said, there are different methods of managing the code and all. So that will be shared. So you can always use the code and recreate the file for practice. Then for database, for practicing, I suggest SQL Server Personal Edition. Again, there is a SQL Server Express Edition available on Microsoft.com. That's simple. That's a free edition from Microsoft Personal Edition. Again, you can download that. There are, of course, it is not like the Enterprise Edition, but you can create databases in it, query that, practice SQL on it. So also, there is a sample database that is available. It's called as Adventure Works. So we give you all the links. You'll have to download it and install it. And QlikView installation is pretty simple. I think it hardly takes 4 or 5 steps, and you're done with the desktop edition. So, if in case you have any problems, we can definitely help you with that. You can install the SQL Express edition and also attach the database. We'll give you the links, don't worry. Once you do it, whatever practice session, my demos or my demonstration during the training session is using that database. So we all are on the same page. We try to get everything resolved. Yeah.
And do we get any material or something like supporting material that we could use even after the course? Like if you have anything else, not the standard document that it would, in general we could get in Google about, like a bulk, very big document. But do you have anything that's customized and that probably helps?
Yeah. So, all right. No, we don't really have anything customized. I have few customized best practices that I can share with you. But we share the videos, so those kind of become the main documentation. So whatever we do on the During the training, I would be sharing a lot of best practices, tips, tricks, and all those things. So that becomes a major documentation for you. And of course, the standard document is always available online, so there is no point repeating it. So in case you want it, we can give you the standard documents though.
Okay. So you won't be able, like, you won't provide the licensed software. It's pretty much what we download. Like, because I've been taking the other demo classes too. Where how are we going to do it? Like, when we really wanted to install the report in the server and then see how we're gonna able to access it from the web link or whatever you said, are we going to do the whole process about deploying the reports in the server and then trying to access it? Are we going to do that? Because that's what we will be doing at the client location, right? So are we going to have samples like that and have any server access?
No, server is it's part of the server administration, and the licensing is not available for server. So we will not have that. It's majorly on the developer and designer part.
Okay, so like, I don't know, because I really don't know if it makes sense, but whatever I'm asking with the knowledge that I have. So so I built a report in my system, and I would definitely want to know how I deploy it in the server and then how I'd be able to access, right? I mean, I definitely would have to know it.
Yeah, well, I can demonstrate that, but to give a license to you and install it, we don't have any that kind of licenses. I can show you how it is done. So that is part of the training, but yeah, hands-on practice. This will be.
So like, after the training, like generally, in general, like they give like 2 months server access or 3 months server access. That's how everybody else told me so far. Like, till after the training, till 2 to 3 months, we still can have the access, and then we could practice. So we don't have that option here, right?
Yeah, server access, I doubt any training institute does it. If it does, I'm not sure. But yeah, so they can give you access to practice on desktop edition, but server is something that there is no educational server available unless you go to QlikView directly.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I mean, yeah, I think I got everything I needed. So it's going to be 1 hour class, right? Every day.
Right. It's going to be 1 hour class.
Okay.
So I'll just show you a few things on the desktop edition if you have time. I think you want.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, this will be interesting for you. So just to clarify that whether I can learn this or how complicated that tool is. So the desktop edition looks something like this. So if you install it, you get the getting started, recently opened favorite. We'll get into detail of this in our training. To begin with, you start with a new document. So when you open a QlikView document, you get a canvas. So if I have to relate it to a presentation PPT, you get a slide on a PPT and you start placing objects, right? You place a text object, you place a picture, you place a graph, you place all these things. All that are called as objects. These are not inbuilt for the slide. The slide is a plain canvas. On that you build the objects. Similarly, in QlikView you have this canvas. Upon this you start placing objects. These objects can be anything. Table box, the tables, the charts, the input box, the selections. It can be everything. Now to build that, we need the data. So the data comes through a script editor. It's basically scripting. So you load the script, it connects to the database, extracts the data. So I go to File, Edit Script. It takes me to the script editor. This is where we create the script. The script is more like modified SQL. It has few specialized keywords for QlikView, but it is predominantly SQL, and the entire concept is SQL. That's why people have a misconception that you need to be a SQL developer to manage it. Itself is a very pretty simple query language. So if you have the concepts, you can basically use it, master it within few days. You don't have to create syntaxes or remember syntaxes. Everything has a wizard which will build the syntaxes for you. So just like if I have to connect to a database, I have a SQL Express Edition installed on my computer, so which has a database called as AdventureWorks. I have to create a system DSN. So during the training we'll understand how to do it. Once I've done it, I use the ODBC connection. I say connect. I select the database. I say I create a link. I create a connection. So QlikView automatically creates a connection string. It's taking some time. Let's give it. This is what database I was referring to. Even you can have this SQL Express edition on your desktop, and AdventureWorks is the database that we are referring to. If you look at this database, is a full-fledged data enterprise kind of a ERP database which you can use for any practice. Not only for QlikView, you can use it for any other tool that you want to practice. So once I give the right username and password, a connection string is created. As I said, all the wizards create the syntax automatically. Now the point is I have to select the tables. So I use the select button. I'll pick all the tables that are required from the database. I'll have to go to the sales department. I pick the sales order header, and I can pick whatever tables I want to. I bring in the sales order detail, customer, so I've got all the tables that I required from the database. So the syntax is created. All I have to do is, this is named automatically, but just to be sure, I name it manually, telling this is the sales order header. I can take off whatever fields I don't want to. So why, when, how, why do we take off fields? We'll understand more of that in the training session. So this is nothing but SQL statements if we look at it keenly. So as I said, you don't really have to know SQL to do it because of most of the syntax is created automatically. So once I do it, I just reload it. But before reloading the application, it has to be saved. When I reload, it connects to the database, connects to the tables, and brings the records. So all these things are on the desktop edition. Only for these, you don't really have to go to the server. So in other applications, if you want to understand how it connects to the database, brings the data, you have to deploy it on a server and understand it. So in QlikView, it doesn't need that. On server, what it does is, once I've done this, so I've got the data in it, I save this file, I place this file on the server. Every time it's going to do a reload. That's all. It's not going to do anything else. So the database connection remains the same, the sales, the records remain the same, everything. But it will just get automated over there. So in case you want to deploy it on the server to make sure that you understand how it connects, you don't really have to go there. It's all on your desktop. So now what happened in the backend? So I don't see anything in the canvas. Basically, at the backend, a model was created. The tables were extracted from the database and linked appropriately. So this is called as associative technology of QlikView. So it creates associations. The links, we call them as associations between the tables. These are created based on primary keys. So that like if there is a common key, it creates a link based on the common name again. So it doesn't matter to QlikView what the underlying data is in a table or in a field. It is basically if they have both share a common name, an association is created. Now there are different scenarios. What if there are multiple keys common? So it creates a multiple association. How do I change the associations? Suppose this is not the field that I want it to be associated. There are different methods of handling it, and that is what the training is all about, and in depth like maybe it might require a little bit of scripting. Like over here there is territory ID, and in the sales order header there is a territory ID. I don't want it to be linked to territory ID over here, but I want it to be linked to region code. For that, the simple concept is, if the names are common, QlikView creates the association. If the names are different, it won't create association. So I'll have to rename this as whatever name I want it to be linked to. So I want it to be linked to territory ID. I rename it to territory ID. I'll just do this. So I reloaded. The field would have been renamed as territory ID, and association would have been created. So if I look at the backend, over here I won't realize what is the field that I renamed, but I'll just negate the final output of it. So that way I can modify names, I can modify connections, and there are a whole lot of SQL scripting that can be done over here. As we grow advanced to the advanced levels of data, but predominantly it's the same logic. You just get data, you make the associations. So they call it as a star schema. The fact and measures are in the center, and the lookup tables or the dimensions are more across. Now, once we have done this, we have got the data now. Now we can go ahead and create a layout. So the layout creation is simple. So you start creating charts. There are different kinds of charts that are available. So we'll see individual of them when we are doing the training. So I get to pick the territory ID, add, next, sum of. So I can pick. I just have to create these expressions, sum of order quantity. This is more like the Excel, but with advanced methods and advanced capabilities. So you don't really have to worry about it. Then I can change through the dimensions. I don't need this. I can use a product ID. So you don't really have to create this every time. All you have to do is select this object, like the chart that I am doing it. Pick this, Control C, Control V. It gets copied. Drag it, place it however you want to. So, and flip. I don't have to create the entire thing. So if I have to change the chart type, so I say I want ship method ID, or else I'll use special offer ID. I'll change the chart type from the bar to the pie chart. So I get a pie chart. I think there are 2 dimensions to it. I can remove one of them. I have to create another chart, so I can do that. Over here we don't really have a year field. So in case we don't have fields, what we can do is we can go ahead and create them. So again, creation is pretty simple. So if you relate to, in Excel you create using year as, so I'll put this as year, month, month. So now we would have the month field. Generally in the data they don't give the month or year field. In an ERP solution they just keep the date. So from the date we derive the month. So I can use the year now. So the year gives me the trend. So I can flip it to, if I want a bar graph or a line graph or anything. I want selections now to be able to slice and dice data. I'll use ship method ID. I'll use month. I'll use year. I'll use territory ID. Now all I have to do is place all these elegantly on the dashboard. So this is the designer part, and this is more like, if you have worked on Excel, I think you can master this within few days, unless you know all the options available in QlikView. You can master this. The descripting part is more of the SQL, the concepts. What I could also suggest is there is something called as W3 schools online, which enable you to learn quickly SQL concepts. So you can, if you really want to master it, you can master it over there, or with whatever concepts you have about data or managing reports, creating reports, we could do this. We have a simple dashboard layout ready now. If a user wants to pick any one of these, he can pick. So he sees territory ID 3. So the data gets filtered. So if you look at it, the data is associated. Whatever selections I make, the data gets filtered. So I want for May, I want for 2008, everything gets filtered. I can play around with the looks, the presentation layout, how I want it to look. All those things are something that you'll be seeing it in our training sessions. Right. Something like this. So you can enable a scroll bar where a user can actually scroll and see all the values. So you have any questions or doubt? Was it too fast?
No, I'm good.
So how do you deploy this to the server? So it's pretty simple. You just save this document. The document is on your, if I have to say, it is on my desktop over here. I take this to the server and just place it on a server and create a task. Now what that task does is it reloads this, and it's like you put that on the server, it gets hosted and the users can access it through the browser. So it won't look any different if I have to really show it. So it will do this in depth in our, what we say, as training session. But just to be very quick and show you what it does, you don't really need a server. Is what I want to show you. So there's a folder that would be designated and you would have been given access by your IT department. So they don't give the server access to everyone. So all you have to do is you get the folder access. So that would be defined as source document. You just upload that into it. You put your first app, whatever file that is there, the actual QEW on the source document. And from the management console, you get to see that document. Either, again, I don't think so they would give you access for this, even if you have access. So once you have the document over there, it should be visible over here.